It's your girl Kat, and I am back with another exclusive video for you. Alright, so this one is on Miss Griselda Blanco, A.K.A. the Black Widow. She was a Colombian drug lady of the Medellin cartel, a cocaine drug trade and underworld based out of Miami during the 1980s through the early 2000s. She was born on February 15, 1943, in Cartagena, Colombia. Miss Thang here was married 3 times, guys, in which she had all of them killed. Interesting. In her early years, she and her mother, Ana Blanco, moved to Medellin when she was 3 years old. Upon arriving there, she adopted a criminal lifestyle. Blanco's former lover, named Charles Cosby, recounted that at the age of 11, she allegedly had a little child kidnapped and attempted a ransom and eventually shot the child because they did not hold up to that ransom. Blanco had become a pickpocket before she even turned 13. To escape the sexual assaults of her mother's boyfriend, she ran away from home at the age of 19 and resorted to looting in Medellin until the age of 20. She was known for being a part of the Miami drug war, which included a drug trade between Colombia to Miami, New York, and California. In the mid-1970s, she illegally immigrated to the United States with false passports and settled in Queens, New York. She established a sizable cocaine business there, and in April 1975, she was indicted on federal drug conspiracy charges along with 30 of her subordinates. She fled to Colombia before she could be arrested, but returned to the United States and settled in Miami in the late 1970s. Her return coincided with the beginning of a very public violent conflict that involved hundreds of murders and killings yearly, which were associated with the high crime epidemic that swept through the city of Miami. This caused them to put together a team called CENTAC 26, Central Tactic Unit, and become a joint operation with the Miami-Dade Police Department and the Drug Enforcement Agency, the DEA. This large, wide distribution network, which spanned in the United States, earned about $80 million per month. In 1984, Blanco's willingness to use violence towards anyone who displeased her led her rivals to make repeated attempts to assassinate her. In an attempt to escape the hits that were called on her, she ended up fleeing to California. Her connection with Colombia, though, it allowed her to have access to killers. Then she would be given orders to tell the killers to murder a particular rival. She calmly told them that everyone in a dwelling where the target was located should be killed, no matter if it was cats, dogs, kids, you name it. These extra murders caused Miami to become the murder capital of America for years. In 1985, Blanco was arrested in New York in a federal courtroom. She was found guilty and sentenced to 15 years. But while serving her sentence, she was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder by the state of Florida also. By this time, the prosecution made a deal with one of Blanco's most trusted hitmen, Jorge Ayala. He agreed to testify against her. But the case collapsed due to technicalities relating to a phone sex scandal between Ayala and 2 female secretaries who worked in the state attorney's office. Blanco pleaded guilty in 1998 and was sentenced to 20 years in prison. In 2002, Blanco suffered a heart attack in prison. In 2004, she was released and deported to Medellin. She was last reported seen in May 2007 at Bogota Airport. So guys, back to the 3 husbands that I mentioned earlier and stated that she had them killed, yeah, let's touch upon that. The first husband was soon after she was 11 and shot that little boy. It says a year later she had become a prostitute and met her first husband. His name was Carlos Trujillo. They had 3 sons, but she got a divorce and that she actually had him murdered because they had a business dispute. Crazy, right? So moving along to her second husband, his name was Alberto Bravo. He was supposedly a cocaine dealer in the late 1960s. They had moved to, looks like Queens, New York, where they had set up a smuggling business and undercover business using clothing, right? Yeah, so she actually had her own clothing brand where they put little bits of cocaine in the pockets. And yeah, it was not able to be found by the police, supposedly. At this time, she had a drug mule lingerie company, which consists of corsets, bras, and knickers fitted with dozens of pockets that allowed women to carry as much as 7 pounds of cocaine in a single corset. This put her in a position to undercut the Italian mafia thanks to their connections with the Colombia, one of the world's main sources of cocaine. They soon became multi-millionaires when they started flying huge consignments into the U.S. in their own planes. 32-year-old Black Widow claimed another mate. Suspecting that Alberto Bravo was cheating on her and stealing millions from their business, she summoned him to a meeting in a car parked and killed him. Griselda married her third husband, Dario Sepulveda, in 1978, a killer with whom she had had her youngest child with, which name was Michael Corleone Blanco. In these days, Griselda's empire was making $80 million a month, smuggling 3,400 pounds of cocaine for the Medellin cartel of her old friend Pablo Escobar at its heights in the 1980s. It is known that Griselda did some of the killings herself and named herself La Compasiva, the compassionate one, after she accepted the desperate pleas of a victim not to slice him up with a machete, but to shoot him instead. I'm guessing that's her way of saying that she was very compassionate when it came to killing. Yeah, okay, Griselda. It is said with this marriage, she was also ferociously jealous and had 8 strippers murdered when she suspected them of sleeping with her husband. When one of her boys was dumped by a girlfriend, she had the girl's father killed. It's also said that she was openly bisexual and held cocaine-fueled lesbian and bisexual orgies in a mirrored room at her opulent Miami mansion where she lived with a German shepherd named Hitler. A year later in 1984, with a $4 million bounty on her head, she fled to California where she laid low in a modest suburban bungalow. Although she was an expert at disguising herself, federal agents finally found her there, arresting her in 1985 as she sat on her bed reading a Bible. By the time she was released in 2004, 2 of her sons had been killed by rivals in Colombia, and Griselda was deported there as an illegal U.S. immigrant. Officials expected her enemies to kill her within days, but astonishingly, she survived for 8 years, living without any bodyguards in a quiet Medellin suburb. But guys, needless to say, in September 2012, she was leaving a local butcher's when a middle-aged man got off of his motorcycle and shot her twice in the head before calmly leaving. What a coincidence. And they say that she invented men riding on motorcycles, going by assassinating people. And that's what happened to her in the end of her life. It's a very tragic ending, I will say. Also, it states that as she laid there dying, her niece put a Bible in her hands to basically say that she was a born-again Christian. So, guys, what are your thoughts on Miss Griselda? Um, I feel like she was a real boss. She made some major boss moves. She had some big kahunas, way more than what I can ever imagine in this lifetime. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are about Miss Griselda Blanco, A.K.A. Godmother. Godmother. Yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my new channel and hit that notification bell so that you'll be notified the very next time I upload a new video. Peace.